All the stuff I'm going to talk about next, you can find at nerd.sfgwa.com. I've wanted to use nerd a lot. I love nerds. I am a certain kind of nerd you want on your team. Corey is a nerd you want on your team. Jeff is a nerd that you want on your team. We're just real specialized nerds. But you want to go to nerd.sfgwa.com, put in your email address. We're going to send you all this content. First is we're going to give you a form. And this form is going to give you a big list of questions, total about 11 questions that you can ask your advisor if you have an advisor right now. Now, that doesn't mean that their answers are going to be comfortable or that you're going to like it, but I want you to think about something. You probably found your existing advisor by accident. You may have made the assessment about whether or not to work with them as to whether or not you could trust them. And you may have made your decision about whether or not to work with them based upon how local they were, or they lived near you. You may have since moved and that person's still managing your money. You haven't talked to them in 3 years. Here's the thing. If you want, any of you, if you want to have a conversation with us, we meet you wherever you are. We do everything we do by Zoom meeting. We want to make sure that you keep your advice with you wherever you go, but you can actually, for the first time, maybe ever, be critical, not in a negative way, not critiquing them, but be critical of your choice of what you and your spouse have done for who you would choose as an advisor. It's not an easy decision to make, and it's sometimes even harder once you've made a decision to then go back and realize that you may have made it based upon criteria that you wouldn't have selected again. In fact, by the way, one of the biggest things you'll see out there is how you should choose an advisor is based upon whether you like and trust them. And yet, what I would say is that may be the worst possible criteria. You want to have somebody who has demonstrated results, a consistent philosophy, and the ability to continue to educate you in your conversations. If you were in a position where you've had a relationship with your advisor for years and you've just continued to abdicate decisions to them and you're not getting any smarter about your money, that's a good reason to reassess that relationship. Doesn't mean you got to work with us, but it may mean it's a good idea for you to just reassess who you're working with. Next is go run your current investments through a tool called personalfund.com. It's a really simple looking website, but it's a great academic tool that will allow you to like x-ray through your existing set of mutual funds, whether in your 401k or in a brokerage account with your guy located in a strip mall down the street who happens to give you your current financial advice. And you can see what the real underlying costs of your investments are. Personalfund.com. That'll also be in the show notes. And then if you want, just get your household on the same page with money. Now, I want to be really clear. If you want to have a philosophy conversation with us, you're a podcast listener, we want to invest that in you. One of us will take the time to just share what we call our philosophy conversation. That conversation, much like this podcast, is only designed to give you better tools with which you can interact with the financial services industry. And with those tools, be a more, I would say, demanding consumer for full situational awareness and transparency with your money. That philosophy talk is no different. We have a strict rule in our company. No one is allowed to make you an offer in our first meeting, meaning no sales. The entire conversation is centered around teaching you some key concepts that we know you can implement after the conversation, whether or not you ever work with us. And then the only opportunity from that call is you could apply to become a client. So if you are interested in a philosophy conversation and or application, just email info@sfgwa. Within the title, put philosophy conversation, and our team will get back to you and help coordinate calendars for the least invasive time for you and your family. But just getting you and your spouse hearing the same conversation about the same topic and then bringing that to new conversations for you as a household will be exceedingly valuable, whether or not we ever work together. This is a clip to our weekly podcast. So if you like this content, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and go over to your favorite podcast app and subscribe to Sound Financial Bites so you can get our full weekly show. And as always, if our philosophy resonates with you and you want to chat with me or one of our advisors about our philosophy, see if it applies to you and your family, just follow the instructions in the description below.